Jake Murphy stepped off the transport ship and felt his stomach drop.
The gravity on Kepler Station was much lighter than Earth's. Each step made him feel like he might float away. He grabbed the rail and took a deep breath. The station was huge. Hundreds of alien species walked through the corridors. Some had blue skin and forearms. Others looked like giant insects with shiny shells. A few floated in water-filled suits. Jake had never seen anything like it. "You must be the human," said a voice behind him. Jake turned around. A tall blue creature with scales and 4 arms stood there. This was Commander Veltar, his instructor. Jake had seen pictures, but meeting an alien in person was different. "Yes, sir. Jake Murphy from Earth," Jake said. He tried to salute, but almost fell over in the light gravity. "Welcome to the Galactic Naval Academy. You are 3 months late. The other cadets have already formed their groups," Commander Veltar said. His voice was cold. Jake nodded. Earth's government had taken forever to sign the papers. By the time Jake got clearance to leave, the academy year was already started. "Follow me. I will show you to your quarters," the commander said. They walked through the station. Jake saw cadets from dozens of different worlds. Most of them stopped and stared at him. He heard whispers in languages he did not understand. Some pointed at him like he was in a zoo. Jake's room was small but clean. There was a bed, a desk, and a food maker. The commander handed him a tablet with his class schedule. "Classes start tomorrow. Try not to embarrass your species," Commander Veltar said. Then he left. Jake unpacked his few belongings. He put a photo of his family ranch on the desk. In the picture, his sister Amy was smiling and holding a baby calf. She had died in an accident just before Jake left for the academy. The photo was all he had left of home. The next morning, Jake went to his first class. It was survival training. 20 cadets sat in a circle around Instructor Zethka, who looked like a giant spider. "Today we will discuss dangerous environments," the instructor said. "Each of you will describe the most dangerous place on your home world." One by one, the cadets spoke. Krex, a big insect-like alien, talked about the deadly acid rains on his world that came once a year. The Aquarian twins, Zeph and Nyx, described their deepest ocean trenches. Brawl, who looked like he was made of rocks, mentioned a desert with temperatures that reached 40 degrees. When it was Jake's turn, he thought about what to say. Everything on Earth seemed dangerous compared to what he had heard. "Well, there are grizzly bears near my home. One attacked me when I was 16. I had to fight it off with just a knife," Jake said simply. The room went quiet. Then someone started laughing. "Bears?" Craig said, clicking his mandibles. "What is a bear?" Jake tried to explain. "They are big animals with claws and teeth. They can weigh 800 pounds and run 30 miles per hour. More laughter filled the room. Yith, a pale alien with big eyes, spoke without moving his mouth. His thoughts went directly into Jake's head. "Primitive human thinks animals are dangerous. How cute," Yith said telepathically. "My world's desert reaches 40 degrees. That would kill most life forms," Brawl said proudly. Jake was confused. 40 degrees? That's pretty cold, but not deadly. It gets down to -30 where I live in winter. -30? Quinn, a bird-like alien, squawked. "Impossible. Nothing can survive such cold." "Sure it can. Humans do it all the time. We just wear warm clothes," Jake said. The other cadets looked at each other. Jake did not understand why they seemed upset. After class, the instructor called Jake over. "Human, what is your world's gravity compared to standard?" he asked. "I think Earth is about 40% higher than galactic standard," Jake said. The instructor's 8 eyes widened. "Your world is classified as a death world. How do humans survive there?" Jake did not know how to answer. He had never thought Earth was especially dangerous. It was just home. That night, Jake went to the mess hall for dinner. He sat alone at a table and ate food from the synthesizer. It tasted like cardboard compared to his mother's cooking. 7 cadets approached his table. It was Krex and his friends, the ones who had laughed at him in class. "Look, it's the Death World primitive," Krex said loudly. Other cadets turned to watch. "I heard humans eat dead animals," said Nyx, making a disgusted face. "And they live in structures made of dead trees," added his twin brother Zeph. Jake kept eating. He did not want trouble. "Hey, primitive, we're talking to you," Dex said. He was an artificial intelligence in a robot body. His voice had no emotion. Jake looked up. "My name is Jake. We don't care what your name is," Yith said, his mental voice sharp in Jake's head. "We know what you are. A savage from a backwards world. Earth isn't backwards. It's just different," Jake said quietly. Brawl laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "Different? Your people still use metal tools and burn fossil fuels. My people mastered energy manipulation 10,000 years ago. Our species have evolved beyond the need for physical violence, Quinn said, puffing up his feathers. Unlike some primitive hunters. Jake finished his meal and stood up. I'm going to my room now. Running away? How typical, Crick said. The other 6 laughed. Jake walked away without answering. He could feel everyone in the mess hall watching him. Back in his room, Jake looked at the photo of Amy. He missed home more than he had expected. Earth's heavy gravity, the smell of pine trees, and the sound of cattle in the fields all seemed very far away. He had come to the academy to serve in the Galactic Defense Force. His dream was to protect Earth and other worlds from threats. But first, he had to survive the academy itself. Jake did not know that his troubles were just beginning. The 7 cadets who had confronted him were already making plans. They saw him as a threat to their social order. A primitive human did not belong among the evolved species of the galaxy. They would teach him his place, they decided. After all, what could one human do against 7 superior beings? Jake fell asleep looking at Amy's photo, unaware that his real test at the academy was about to begin. The harassment started small. Jake would wake up floating near the ceiling because someone had changed his room's gravity settings during the night. His food synthesizer would produce meals that tasted like soap or worse. His uniforms would go missing from the laundry. Jake knew who was doing it, but he said nothing. On Earth, his father had taught him that sometimes you had to endure hardship before things got better. 3 weeks into the academy, Jake met Lisa Carter in the communications center. She was the only other human on the station, working as a communications officer. You're the new cadet from Earth, Lisa said with a smile. I heard about you. Nothing good, I bet, Jake replied. Lisa was older than Jake, maybe 30 years old. She had been in space for 5 years and knew how things worked. The other species are nervous about humans, she explained. Earth's reputation as a death world scares them. They think we're all violent savages. But we're not, Jake said. I know that and you know that, but they don't. To them, we're from a world so dangerous that it killed most life forms that tried to evolve there. Only the strongest and most aggressive survived. Lisa showed Jake the official classification files. Earth was listed as a Class 12 death world. The gravity was 1.4 times galactic standard. The weather included hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and ice storms. The planet had over 50 million species, many of them predators. Most civilized worlds have maybe a few hundred species, Lisa explained, and almost none are dangerous. The most threatening animal on Krex's world is something like a rabbit. Jake started to understand why the other cadets acted afraid of him. The bullying got worse after Jake excelled in combat training. The exercise was simple. Navigate through an obstacle course while avoiding stun beams. Most cadets took 20 minutes and got hit multiple times. Jake finished in 8 minutes without getting hit once. Commander Veltar was impressed. How did you move so quickly in the dark? I grew up hunting, Jake said. You learn to move quietly and see in low light. The other cadets were not impressed. They were jealous and angry. That night, Yith used his telepathic powers to give Jake nightmares. Jake woke up screaming about Amy's accident. His roommate, a peaceful plant-based alien named Fern, asked to be moved to another room. I'm sorry, Fern said, but your dreams are too violent. I can sense them through the walls. Jake was alone again. During physical training, Quinn would use his speed to trip Jake or knock things from his hands. When Jake reported it, Quinn claimed it was an accident. I cannot help being faster than a human, Quinn said innocently. Broll would accidentally bump into Jake with his rock-hard body, leaving bruises. Dex would malfunction Jake's equipment during electronics class. The Aquarian twins would work together to make Jake look foolish during team exercises, but it was Krex who was the real leader. He coordinated all the harassment and always made sure he had witnesses to prove his innocence. Jake tried to focus on his studies. He was doing well in most classes. His survival skills were better than anyone else's. His knowledge of weapons and tactics impressed the instructors. But the constant harassment was wearing him down. One day, Dr. Kethmol called Jake to the medical bay for his physical exam. The doctor was a tall, gray alien with 6 arms and multiple eyes. Fascinating, Dr. Kethmol said as he looked at the test results. Your bone density is 3 times normal for your size. Your muscle fibers are incredibly efficient, and your reaction time, he paused. I have never seen anything like it. Is something wrong with me? Jake asked. Wrong? No. You are perfectly adapted for your world's conditions, but by galactic standards you are extraordinarily strong and fast. The doctor explained that Jake's body was built for Earth's high gravity and dangerous environment. His reflexes had evolved to deal with predators that could kill him in seconds. Most species evolved on worlds with low gravity and few threats, Dr. Kethmal said. They developed intelligence and technology instead of physical abilities. But humans developed both. Jake left the medical bay feeling confused. He did not feel especially strong or fast. On Earth, he had been average. The harassment reached a new level after Jake's success in survival training. The exercise involved being dropped on a simulated hostile planet with limited supplies. Most cadets barely survived the 3-day test. Jake not only survived but thrived. He built shelter, found food, created tools, and even helped rescue 2 cadets who had gotten lost. Show off, Krex muttered as they returned to the station. That night, the 7 bullies surrounded Jake in the mess hall. Other cadets watched nervously. We're tired of your primitive display, Krex said loudly. You think you're better than us because you come from a savage world? I never said that, Jake replied quietly. Your actions say it, Yith projected into Jake's mind and the minds of everyone nearby. You make us look weak. Maybe you are weak, said a voice from across the room. Everyone turned. Captain Rex Stone, a human officer, stood in the doorway. He was visiting the station for an inspection. Captain Stone was tall and broad with gray hair and scars on his face. Captain Stone, Commander Veltar said, approaching quickly. These cadets were just having a discussion. Looked like harassment to me, Captain Stone said. His voice was calm but dangerous. Krex and his friends backed away from Jake's table. We were just talking, Krex said. Captain Stone walked over to Jake. You okay, son? Yes, sir, Jake said. The captain looked at the 7 bullies. I suggest you find something else to talk about. After the bullies left, Captain Stone sat down with Jake. They giving you trouble? He asked. Nothing I can't handle, Jake said. I'm sure you can. But be careful. These aliens don't understand humans yet. They think we're either weak primitives or dangerous monsters. They haven't figured out that we can be both. Captain Stone left the next day, but his visit had consequences. The bullies felt embarrassed and angry. They decided that Jake needed to learn his place once and for all. Jake sensed the change in their attitude. Their harassment became more aggressive. They were no longer content to play pranks and make jokes. They wanted to hurt him. The situation came to a head during a tactical exercise. Jake's team was supposed to work together to solve a military problem. But Krex's group sabotaged their equipment and made them look foolish in front of the instructors. After class, Krex approached Jake with his 6 friends behind him. You think you're special because another human visited? Krex said. You're still just a primitive savage. Leave me alone, Krex, Jake said, or what? You'll fight us? Yith laughed telepathically. 7 against 1? Even a Deathworld animal isn't that stupid. Jake looked at each of them. He had been patient for months. He had endured their harassment and tried to be better than they were. But his patience was running out. I don't want to fight, Jake said quietly. Of course you don't, Brawl said, because you know we're superior. Jake walked away without answering. But something had changed in his eyes. The 7 bullies did not notice it, but other cadets did. They whispered among themselves that the quiet human looked different now. Dangerous. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Jake returned to his quarters after a long day of classes to find his room destroyed. His bed was overturned, his clothes scattered across the floor, and his personal belongings broken. But the worst part was the photo. The picture of Amy and the ranch had been torn into pieces. Someone had written "Dead Primitive" across Amy's face in permanent ink. Jake stood in the doorway staring at the destroyed photo. His hands began to shake. He carefully picked up each piece, trying to fit them together. But Amy's smiling face was ruined forever. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Jake felt truly angry. He found the 7 bullies in the recreation room, playing a holographic game. They were laughing loudly, and when they saw Jake, they laughed even harder. Did you like our redecorating? Krex asked, clicking his mandibles happily. You destroyed my sister's photo, Jake said quietly. Oh, was that important to you? Nick said with fake concern. Sorry about your dead primitive sister. She probably died doing something stupid, Zeph added. Like all humans. Jake's vision went red. Every muscle in his body tensed. On Earth, his father had taught him to control his temper. Anger makes you stupid, his father had said, and stupid gets you killed. But Jake had never been this angry before. What's wrong, Deathworlder? Yith projected mockingly into Jake's mind. Going to cry about your dead family? Jake took a deep breath. Then another. He forced his hands to unclench. I want you to stay away from me, Jake said. Or what? Brawl stood up, using his full height to intimidate. You'll hurt us? You're outnumbered, human. Besides, Dex said in his emotionless robot voice, violence is against Academy rules. Primitive species like humans always resort to fighting when their tiny brains can't handle civilized discussion. Jake looked at each of them. Really looked. He saw how Krex favored his left side where his exoskeleton was weakest. He noticed that Quinn's hollow bones would snap easily. He observed that the Aquarian twins moved in predictable patterns. He calculated how long it would take to disable Brawl's artificial arm joints. I don't want to fight you, Jake said again. Because you're weak, Yith said, pushing harder into Jake's mind with his telepathy. Just like your dead sister was weak. Something cold and deadly settled in Jake's chest. His father had also taught him another lesson. Sometimes, son, a man has to fight. When that time comes, you end it fast and you end it completely. Combat Bay 7. After lights out, Jake said quietly. The 7 bullies looked surprised. They had not expected him to actually challenge them. You want to fight all of us? Krex asked. Yes. Fine, Krex said, puffing out his chest. We'll teach you why evolved species are superior to Deathworld savages. Jake walked away without another word. News of the fight spread quickly through the academy. By evening, every cadet knew about it. Some thought Jake was brave. Others thought he was crazy. Most thought he was about to get seriously hurt. Lisa Carter found Jake in the communications center where he was sending a message to his parents. I heard about tonight, she said. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, Jake said. 7 against 1 isn't fair. Jake looked at her with cold eyes. Lisa, where I come from, fair is what happens after you win. What if you lose? I won't. There was something in Jake's voice that made Lisa step back. She had seen that look in other humans who had served in dangerous places. It was the look of someone who had made peace with violence. Captain Rex Stone's ship was still docked at the station. When he heard about the fight, he went to find Commander Veltar. You need to stop this, Captain Stone said. Why? Let the human learn his place, and Commander Veltar replied. You don't understand. That boy is from Montana. They raise cattle there, so? Commander, on Earth, cattle ranchers deal with predators that could kill a grown man. Bears, mountain lions, wolves. Jake Murphy has probably killed more dangerous animals than most of your cadets have ever seen. Commander Veltar's scales rippled with concern. But it's 7 against 1. That's what I'm worried about, Captain Stone said grimly. I'm worried about the 7. As lights out approached, Jake sat alone in his room. He looked at the pieces of Amy's photo spread across his desk. He remembered the day she died. A bull had gotten loose and charged her. Jake had been too far away to help. She had died because he wasn't strong enough or fast enough to save her. He had joined the academy to become stronger, to protect people. But first, he had to deal with these bullies. Jake stood up and walked to his equipment locker. He pulled out his academy training uniform and put it on. Then he walked to Combat Bay 7. The bay was designed for training exercises. It had padded walls, first aid equipment, and sensors to monitor vital signs. It was meant to be a safe place to practice fighting techniques. Tonight, it would be something else entirely. When Jake arrived, he found that word had spread even further. Cadets from dozens of species were hiding in the observation areas. Everyone wanted to see the fight between the Deathworld human and the 7 bullies. Krex and his friends were already there, stretching and preparing. They looked confident. Why shouldn't they? 7 evolved beings against 1 primitive human. Last chance to back down, Savage, Krex said. Jake said nothing. He walked to the center of the bay and waited. The 7 bullies spread out in a circle around him. They had planned this carefully. Each would use their natural advantages. Yith's telepathy, Quinn's speed, Brawl's strength, Dex's calculations, the twins' coordination, and Krex's leadership. Ready to learn your place? Yith projected mockingly. Jake looked at him with empty eyes. I already know my place. Where's that? Krex asked. At the top of the food chain. The fight was about to begin. The combat bay fell silent. 7 alien cadets stood in a circle around Jake Murphy. In the observation areas, dozens of other cadets watched with wide eyes. Some had never seen a real fight before. Jake stood perfectly still in the center of the circle. His breathing was slow and controlled. His eyes moved constantly, tracking all 7 opponents at once. This was something he had learned hunting elk in Montana. You always watch everything that can kill you. Begin when ready, Commander Veltar announced over the intercom. He was watching from the control room, ready to stop the fight if it went too far. Krex raised his arm to signal the attack. Remember, we're teaching him a lesson, not killing him. Jake heard this and almost smiled. They still didn't understand. Second 1. Krex dropped his arm. All 7 bullies moved at once, just as they had practiced. Jake moved faster. His first target was Yith, the telepath. Jake had learned that telepaths needed concentration to use their powers. Hard to concentrate when you're unconscious. Jake crossed the distance to Yith in 2 quick steps. The pale alien tried to blast Jake's mind with psychic force, but Jake's thoughts were already gone, focused entirely on movement and target elimination. Second 2. Jake's elbow struck Yith in the exact center of his large forehead, where the telepathic organ was most sensitive. The blow would have been gentle for a human. Jake pulled it significantly. For Yith, whose species had never developed physical defenses, it was like being hit by a truck. Yith collapsed instantly, his telepathic scream echoing in everyone's minds before cutting off abruptly. 1 down, 6 to go. Second 3. Quinn, the bird-like alien, was the fastest of the bullies. He dove at Jake with his sharp talons extended, moving at incredible speed. On his homeworld, this attack had never failed, but Quinn had never fought something that grew up dodging grizzly bears. Jake didn't try to match Quinn's speed. Instead, he used the alien's momentum against him. As Quinn flew past, Jake grabbed the bird's hollow-boned wing and redirected his flight path. Second 4. Jake threw Quinn directly at Brawl, the rock-strong alien who was charging from the opposite direction. Quinn's lightweight body hit Brawl like a feathered missile. The impact made a sickening crunch. Quinn's hollow bones, perfect for flight but terrible for combat, cracked on Brawl's stone-hard chest. Both aliens went down in a tangle of feathers and rock. 3 down, 4 to go. Second 5. The Aquarian twins Zeph and Nyx attacked together. They had trained their entire lives to fight as a perfectly coordinated team. Their movements were synchronized like a dance. Jake had grown up wrestling steers. 2 soft-bodied amphibians were not intimidating. He grabbed Nyx by the throat as the alien lunged at him. The Aquarian's skin was slippery and wet, designed for swimming, not fighting. But Jake's grip strength, developed by years of ranch work and heavy gravity, was unbreakable. Second 6. Jake lifted Nyx off the ground and swung him like a club at his twin brother. Zeph tried to dodge, but he had spent his whole life fighting alongside Nyx. He couldn't adapt fast enough to fight against him. The 2 Aquarians collided with a wet smacking sound and fell to the floor, stunned. Their perfect coordination was shattered. 5 down, 2 to go. Second 7. Dex, the artificial intelligence, had been calculating probabilities since the fight began. His mechanical brain was processing thousands of combat scenarios per second, looking for the optimal strategy. His conclusion: retreat immediately. But Jake was already moving. The AI's robot body was strong and durable, but it had one weakness that Jake had noticed during their months together at the academy. The connection points between the artificial muscles and the metal skeleton were vulnerable to sudden impacts. Jake's fist hit Dex's shoulder joint with surgical precision. The connection snapped and the robot's left arm went dead. Second 8. Dex tried to back away, calculating new scenarios with only one functional arm. But Jake followed up with a kick to the robot's knee joint. Another connection snapped. Dex toppled over, his systems frantically trying to compensate for the damaged limbs. His mechanical voice spoke with what might have been surprise: probability of defeat 100%. 6 down, 1 to go. Second 9. Krex, the leader, stood alone. Around him lay his 6 friends, unconscious, broken, or disabled. The big insectoid alien looked at Jake with new understanding in his compound eyes. "How?" Krex whispered. "Practice," Jake said simply. Krex was strong and tough, with natural armor that could deflect energy weapons. But his exoskeleton had joints, and Jake had been watching those joints for months. Jake moved forward with calm precision. This wasn't anger anymore. It was just problem-solving. Krex tried to grab Jake with his powerful arms, but Jake slipped under the attack and struck upward at the joint where Krex's arm connected to his thorax. The impact sent shockwaves through the alien's nervous system. Krex's arm went numb. He tried to strike with his other arm, but Jake was already behind him, applying pressure to the nerve cluster at the base of Krex's neck. The big alien wavered, then crashed to the floor like a falling tree. 7 down. Fight over. Jake stood in the center of Combat Bay 7, surrounded by 7 unconscious or disabled aliens. His breathing was only slightly elevated. There wasn't a mark on him. The silence in the observation areas was absolute. Dozens of alien cadets stared in shock at what they had just witnessed. Jake walked over to each fallen opponent, checking their injuries. His training on Earth had taught him basic first aid. Yeath had a concussion but would recover. Quinn had several cracked ribs but nothing life-threatening. The twins were bruised and dizzy. Brawl had some chipped stone around his arm joints. Dex would need repairs, but his core systems were intact. Krex was simply unconscious. Medical teams to Combat Bay 7, Jake said calmly into his communicator. Commander Veltar's voice came over the intercom. Cadet Murphy, report to my office immediately. Jake looked up at the control room windows. Yes, sir. After I helped get them to medical, he lifted Yith carefully and started carrying him toward the door. The other cadets in the observation areas pressed back against the walls as Jake passed. They looked at him with a mixture of fear and awe. Dr. Kethamol arrived with his medical team. He looked at the 7 injured aliens, then at Jake. What happened here? The doctor asked. They picked a fight with the wrong species, said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned. Captain Rex Stone stood there with his arms crossed. I tried to warn them, Captain Stone continued, but they wouldn't listen. Jake helped load the injured bullies onto medical stretchers. As they wheeled Krex past him, the big alien's eyes opened slightly. I'm sorry, Krex whispered. Jake nodded. I know. As the medical teams left with the 7 bullies, Jake stood alone in the combat bay. Around him, the watching cadets began to disperse, whispering among themselves in dozens of languages. The word spread quickly through the academy. The quiet human from the Deathworld had just defeated 7 opponents in 9 seconds. Without breaking a sweat, without getting hurt, without losing his temper, Jake Murphy had just taught the galaxy an important lesson about humans. They weren't just survivors of a dangerous world. They were apex predators who had learned to think. Jake sat in Commander Veltar's office, waiting. The commander was reading the medical reports from Dr. Kethamol. The silence stretched for several minutes. Finally, Commander Veltar looked up. 7 cadets hospitalized. 7 promising careers possibly ended. All because of you. They started it, Jake said quietly. Did they? Or did you lose control like a savage animal? Jake met the commander's 4 eyes steadily. Sir, if I had lost control, they would be dead. All of them. In the same 9 seconds. Commander Veltar's scales rippled with surprise. Explain. Every strike I made was calculated and controlled. I could have killed Yith with that elbow strike. His skull is thin compared to humans. I could have snapped Quinn's neck instead of just cracking his ribs. I could have crushed the twins' windpipes instead of just stunning them. Jake stood up and walked to the commander's desk. Sir, on Earth, when something threatens you, you don't disable it. You eliminate it. That's how you survive. But I didn't want to eliminate them. I wanted to stop them. Why? Because they're not really enemies. They're just scared kids who didn't understand what they were dealing with. Commander Veltar studied Jake for a long moment. Captain Stone said something similar. He warned me that humans are dangerous in ways we don't understand. We're only dangerous when we need to be, Jake said. Most of the time, we'd rather not fight at all. The commander was quiet for another minute. Then he said, Report to Medical Bay. Dr. Kethamol wants to examine you. Jake found Dr. Kethamol in his office reviewing scans and data. The doctor's 6 arms moved independently as he worked on multiple screens at once. Ah, Jake, come in. I have been studying the recordings of your fight, Dr. Kethamol said. Fascinating. Your heart rate never went above 90 beats per minute. Your stress hormones remained at normal levels. How is this possible? I wasn't stressed, Jake said. I was just solving problems. Problems? You fought 7 opponents simultaneously. On Earth, I've hunted mountain lions alone. I fought off wolves while protecting cattle. 7 Academy cadets from peaceful worlds aren't that scary. Dr. Kethamal showed Jake the medical reports. Do you realize how precisely you struck each opponent? Yith's concussion will heal completely with no lasting effects. Quinn's bones are cracked but will mend perfectly. You somehow knew exactly how much force to use against each different species. Jake shrugged. I've been watching them for months. You learn things. This level of tactical assessment and precise violence is unprecedented in galactic records, the doctor said. No wonder your species survived on a death world. Over the next few days, Jake noticed changes at the academy. Other cadets no longer whispered and pointed when he walked by. Instead, they stepped aside respectfully. Some even nodded or said hello. The 7 bullies were recovering in medical bay. Jake visited them every day. Yith was the first to wake up fully. When he saw Jake, he flinched. I'm not here to hurt you, Jake said, sitting down beside the medical bed. I know, Yith said weakly. His telepathic voice in Jake's head was much quieter now. I felt your mind during the fight. There was no anger, no hatred, just efficiency. I was angry about my sister's photo, Jake admitted, but anger makes you stupid in a fight. My father taught me that. Your father sounds wise. He was a rancher, had to be wise to survive. Quinn woke up next, his wing in a cast. I've never been hit that hard before, he wheezed. I pulled the punch, Jake said. If I hadn't redirected you into Brawl, I would have had to hit you directly. That would have killed you. Why didn't you? Because you're not actually evil. You're just young and stupid. The twins, Zeph and Nix, recovered together. They had matching bruises and looked embarrassed. We always fought as a team, Nix said. We never learned how to fight alone. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Jake said. Teamwork is good. But you were using it to bully people. That's not what teams are for. Brawl's stone-like body was hard to damage, so he recovered quickly, but his pride was badly wounded. I thought I was the strongest cadet here, Brawl said sadly. You probably are, Jake said. But strength isn't just about lifting heavy things. It's about knowing when to use your power and when not to. Dex was repaired by the station's engineers. When he came online, his first words were, I underestimated human capabilities by 347%. Probably more than that, Jake said. I was holding back. Why? Because I didn't want to really hurt you. You're annoying, but you don't deserve to die for it. Krex was the last to wake up. He looked at Jake with new understanding in his compound eyes. I was wrong about humans, Krex said. No, you were just incomplete, Jake replied. Humans are what you thought. We're aggressive, violent, and dangerous. But we're also protective, loyal, and controlled. You only saw the scary parts. What changed your mind about fighting us? Jake's face darkened. You destroyed the picture of my dead sister and mocked her memory. That crossed a line. I'm sorry, Krex said sincerely. We didn't understand how important family is to humans. Family is everything to us, Jake said. We'll die for family. We'll kill for family, but we'll also forgive for family. Over the following weeks, something unexpected happened. The 7 former bullies became Jake's closest friends at the academy. Krex appointed himself as Jake's unofficial bodyguard, though everyone knew Jake didn't need protection. Yith used his telepathic abilities to help Jake study, sharing knowledge directly mind to mind. Quinn's speed complemented Jake's tactical thinking during team exercises. The twins learned to work with Jake instead of against him. Brawl discovered that his strength and Jake's skills made them an unstoppable team. Dex recalculated his entire understanding of human capabilities and became fascinated by Earth culture. Other cadets began approaching Jake for help. They wanted to learn survival skills, combat techniques, and tactical thinking. Jake found himself becoming an unofficial instructor. How do you stay so calm in dangerous situations? Asked Vera, a fragile crystalline alien. Practice, Jake said. On Earth, panic gets you killed, so you learn to think clearly when everything goes wrong. Can you teach us? Jake looked around at the group of cadets who had gathered to listen. They came from dozens of different worlds, but they all had the same expression, respect mixed with curiosity. Sure, Jake said. But first lesson, most problems can be solved without fighting. Fighting is what you do when all the other options are gone. Commander Veltar watched these training sessions from a distance. He was amazed by the change in academy dynamics. The human had turned 7 bullies into loyal friends and become a leader among the cadets. Captain Rex Stone returned to the station a month later for another inspection. He found Jake in the training bay, teaching a mixed group of aliens how to move quietly. "How are things going, son?" Captain Stone asked. "Better," Jake said. "Much better. I heard about your fight." 9 seconds? "Yes, sir. Your father would be proud." Jake smiled. "I hope so. I'm trying to live up to what he taught me." "What's that?" "Be strong enough to protect what you love. Be wise enough to know when protection is needed. And be human enough to forgive when the fighting is over." Captain Stone nodded approvingly. "The Academy is requesting more human instructors. Earth's application has been fast-tracked." "Good," Jake said. "The galaxy needs to understand us better, and we need to understand the galaxy." Graduation day came 6 months later. Jake stood with his classmates as they received their commissions as officers in the Galactic Defense Force. Next to him stood Krex, Yith, Quinn, the twins, Brawl, and Dex, his unlikely band of friends. Commander Veltar gave the graduation speech. "This class has taught us important lessons about cooperation, understanding, and the strength that comes from diversity. You have shown that former enemies can become loyal allies." After the ceremony, Jake's parents attended via video link from Earth. His father looked proud but not surprised. "How do you feel about your son's reputation as the cadet who won a 7-on-1 fight in 9 seconds? The reporter asked. Jake's father smiled. "I'm proud that he only took 9 seconds, but I'm prouder that he used those 9 seconds to make 7 enemies into 7 friends." Lisa Carter found Jake after the ceremony. "So what's next, Lieutenant Murphy?" Jake looked at his new rank insignia, then at his friends from across the galaxy. "I'm assigned to the Exploration Division. We're going to find new worlds and make contact with new species." "Sounds dangerous." "Everything worthwhile is dangerous," Jake said. "But that's okay. Dangerous is what humans do best." He looked at the photo on his desk, Amy's picture, carefully repaired with help from Dex's precise mechanical skills. She was smiling again. "Besides," Jake added quietly, "someone has to protect the galaxy from the really scary stuff out there, and it turns out humans are pretty good at that job." The 7 former bullies gathered around Jake. They were no longer the arrogant, prejudiced cadets they had been months ago. They had learned about respect, friendship, and the complex nature of strength. "Ready to explore strange new worlds with a Deathworld human?" Jake asked them. "Wouldn't have it any other way," Krex replied, speaking for all of them. As they walked toward their new assignments, other cadets watched with admiration and respect. The quiet human from Earth had changed everything, not through anger or hatred, but through controlled strength and unexpected mercy.